By now, most people realize that Bitcoin is not the same as blockchain. So what the heck is blockchain then? It's a whole new technology, a whole new mechanism of how things can work. In fact, it is not only used for payments, it can be used for so many different things. And in this video, I'll try to explain how exactly can blockchain be used for cryptocurrency. As the name suggests, a blockchain is a chain of blocks. So a chain just means that the consecutive blocks are connected to each other, and in such a way that you cannot unconnect them, because if you do that in any point of the chain, the whole chain is going to break. So then the question is, what the hell are blocks? It can be any type of information. And for cryptocurrency, the blocks contain information about transactions. In particular, they contain transaction history. So the whole cryptocurrency thing is just a record of all transactions. It's a history from the very beginning up to now of the transactions that have happened on that blockchain. Who gave money to who and who received money from who. That's actually called a ledger. All the transactions happen between people. So let's say I transfer you some Bitcoin, and then you transfer some Bitcoin to your mom, and then your mom transfers some Bitcoin back to me, and this all circulation, it just goes on and on and on, and all the transactions are recorded in the history. Any number of transactions can be recorded in one block. For Bitcoin, for example, it ranges from several hundred to several thousand, depending on how many people are using the network. So initially, you just need to have some people who already have some amount of Bitcoin to give it to somebody else, for them to share it to somebody else and go on. The question left now is, how do you keep this whole thing decentralized and distributed and secure without a central authority? Because as I said previously, for cryptocurrency, you don't have a bank or government to keep the track of all the transaction history. Yes, you can have the websites, and that's the one I'm using right now to show you how this whole thing works. But the websites are just like the windows for it. You just can look into it. So in fact, everybody on the network who wants to participate can volunteer to store it. And if I transfer you some money, I publicly announce that I transferred you some Bitcoin, and then everybody records it. You record it, I record it, and then your mom also recorded this. And everybody on the network has this thing. But what is it exactly that is recorded in the transaction history? For Bitcoin and for many other cryptocurrencies, you record the date or the time when the transaction happened, the wallet from which the money came from, and the wallet to which the money went, and the amount of money, of course. And there is also a little thing called hash. A hash is what makes the whole thing possible. It is the cryptography part. It's what makes a transaction unique. If I try to cheat and say, oh, I transferred you money twice, or I did not actually transfer you money, everybody is going to be like, oh, because there are so many copies of the ledger, people are going to notice that something is wrong and this is not going to proceed. Let's sum up what we have as of now. So everybody on the network who wants to participate can store the history of transactions. That history of transactions is recorded in blocks, and those are connected to each other to create a chain of blocks or blockchain. One important thing that is left out here is a hash. Each block, apart from part of the transaction history, also contains a hash, and it is unique for each and every block that is there. Hash is what identifies the block and where it is in the blockchain, and it is unique for each and every one. Each hash looks like a random sequence of letters and numbers, so every time a new block is created, the transaction history of that block is encrypted, and via encryption you get a hash for that block. The difficulty with which you can meet the conditions to create a hash for a new block vary depending on how many people are trying to create a hash for the network. Every time a new block is created, people are competing with each other to create a hash for it, because for that they get an incentive in the form of cryptocurrency. Every time a new block is created, the money is basically added to the network by going to the wallet of the person who created the hash for this new block. And those people who compete to create a hash for the new block are actually called miners. So hashing is essential to blockchain, and that is also what helps the blocks to be connected to each other. Each new block that is created has the hash of the previous one in its header and had its own one. So the block following that one also had the hash of the previous one and its own as well. They are the ones that make it immutable. That means they make it impossible to change the history of transactions. Let's try to sum this up real quick. I transfer you some money, it's a transaction, and that is recorded in the transaction record or a ledger. And we announce this transaction publicly, and everybody records it in their own version of the ledger. And because we all keep it together, it is kept secure. The full transaction history is stored in blocks, and each block, in addition to the transaction history, also has a hash. A hash is what identifies that block, where it is in the blockchain, and makes it unique. Hashes also help the blocks to be connected together to form a chain of blocks. And that is how you get blockchain. In this video, I covered a very small part behind blockchain functionality, and I actually left a lot of important details as well. For example, how the transactions are happening, how you use the public key, the private key, and how the whole thing works. If you would like for me to make another type of this educational video, please leave your feedback in the comments, because I'm not sure what exactly you're waiting from me, and I already have some people watching. So please leave your feedback, again, as I said. And that was it for this video. See you in the next one.